basically like you do in iCal. So yeah, that can be expanded into it.
Can you auto-sync any of the information from this to iCal to .me.com, for example?
Again, it's possible to build into on the server side. One of the tweaks that I've done, because this is not the distribution that comes with the jQuery calendar plugin doesn't contain really all of this functionality. I've done some tweaks in there. One of the things I did was that I actually made it more compatible with the iCalendar format, so that fields have the same name and actually had the same kind of fields. In the original distribution, you really only have a title field and the time fields, where I added location and description, which are part of the iCalendar standard. And this can easily be expanded with other information as well. The calendar plugin is prepared to handle extensions. So you can have X calendar items. Yeah.
What is, could you split what is the lasso part, what is the jQuery part, and what is the CNUD part?
Well, anything you see here is basically the jQuery part, anything that's going on with lasso. There are two, I can show you the structure here. We have, this is the documents you would need in order to get it working. This is the one we're accessing. That's the one we're opening in our browser. It is a lasso document, but that's only to handle the localization. So that lasso can insert the localized strings that you want. If we accept it to keep it only in English, we could hard code those strings into it, and this could be an HTML document instead.
Yeah, you could use it for users, specifically users, what he asks, to load specific events, private events. You can do it also in lasso file.
Yeah. So this doesn't do any other lasso action than get the language strings. The rest of the lasso action, once this is loaded, it does an AJAX call for this file, ajax.lasso, and uses that to get all the calendar events that are interesting for the moment, and in this case for the week that we're looking at. And it returns them as a JSON object and then draws all the events once the JSON object once it got the JSON objects, it will draw the events.
Does this week calendar have a like an exit program? Is it the Ajax Lasso plugin for the jQuery calendar? Or can you also make an Ajax PHP or whatever to retrieve the calendar data?
Yeah. It's
like
the backend could be anything. I mean, I'm probably the only one who have done the Lasso adoption. The rest, all the other questions asked on the mailing list is how do I do this with PHP?
So it's a calendar and you just build a plugin.
Yeah. So you could say that this is something that comes with the original distribution, and this is this is where all the action is taking place, all the JavaScript action, and this is similar to the original distribution, but I've tweaked it in order to get the stuff that I want, like expanded with fields and deal with Sundays and stuff like that. That's not part of the original distribution. So you can't just take a new version of the calendar.
Yeah, okay, that's clear. I would do the same.
Yeah, let's just say that. What is the source? Is it a database data? Is it an ICS file?
The source?
Where are
Where's
the
your data?
events?
Where are the events coming from? Are they coming from
Well, they're coming from a database. But in the distribution, I include a create statement for the table that you need.
So you design this table?
Yeah.
Does that jQuery plugin?
No, the jQuery plugin doesn't care anything of what you do on the server side. It's all client side. So they leave it up to you to add the server side that you want. There's not even a documentation on how to do it actually. So you have to figure that out. So, this is the language file that contains all the language strings, and it's very straightforward if you look at it. You just define a map like this for the strings that you want, in this case the Swedish strings, and down here we have the English strings. All this is cached for the first visitor will create a cache that is then reused until expired or told to be refreshed. That's something that you can do in the config file. If I set this to true, we'll refresh the cache and then I can set it to false again. That speeds it up a lot. I mean, well, it's speed enough as it is, but makes it snappier. Yeah. What else do we have? CSS, and here's the configuration done to make this specific implementation of the jQuery calendar work. Where I also include a lot of the localization issues. I said we should look specifically at how to deal with the iCalendar object because that's what we announced. So I use iCalendar tags for two purposes. I don't use them when I'm actually fetching the events. That's done with a direct call to the database. I don't have to involve iCalendar tags with that. But when I want to export a calendar or a week in the calendar, I want it as an iCalendar object. So that's what I'm doing here. First I'm getting the start and end date. I want to limit my calendar to my export. Then I create a Knoop object, put in the search params and get the actual records here. That's a Knoop call. Here I create iCalendar object. This will be this variable will be a calendar type. That's completely empty, but it's still a calendar type with that call. I iterate the records I found down here, and for each record I create an iCal event. I populate that event using add attribute, and these are standard names for iCalendar objects. That's what we call them. And once I have that event populated, I insert it into the formerly empty iCalendar object up here. And the new record will create a new iCal event that's empty, fill it with attributes, and keep on going like that until there are no more records. And then I have a ready-made iCalendar object that I can deal with in some way. And what I do here is that I simply export it. And those of you that were awake this morning, so this, yeah. This is, as I said then, this is a part of the code that I actually don't understand what it does, but it works. I'm serving the file here and the content of the iCalendar object that I created. I call it something relevant, put a date into it, the correct ending, and so that it should download and not pop up in my browser. I don't want it set as a text object because that would not work as well. And on Macs, I just set it to UTF-8, and that works. On Windows, this is supposed to work too. I don't have a Windows machine, so that will be exciting to see when we try it. It works. And that's it. Then I get the records, as you saw earlier. When I want to import a calendar object, that's a bit more complicated. Any questions about this? Fine? Great.